to work that out. Yes, I can, Your Honor.
Okay. So I am going to give you one chance on pretrial services because I don't see a significant failure to appear history here.
No, I have no failure to appear.
I do see one. So I do see one. Yeah. The additional orders are that you may not possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You must submit to monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. You may not possess any firearms or weapons while you are on pretrial release. Your next court date will be May 19th at 1:30 for a preliminary hearing. Actually, since I am releasing you, are you willing to waive that out to 45 days instead of 20? So that you can be properly assessed for the diversion program?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
So your next court date will be June 13th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. It's possible that hearing will not go forward, so you'll want to stay in touch with your attorney from the public defender's office. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You'll end up right back in this situation, and the judge likely will not release you. And then you also have that steps hearing to determine if you are eligible for the pre-indictment diversion program that's on May 6th at 9 a.m. I think you only get one shot at that hearing. So if you don't show up, I don't believe you can be screened for the program, okay?
I'll make sure it happens, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You're excused.
Thank you.
So this is you're out. Yes, sir. This is the first number you got to call. That's the second number you got to call. Got to be there May 6th. It's the third floor superior. That's for your steps. Your superior floor going on. Yeah, the one in the church, always church. Yeah, May 6th. Okay,
so I called this number first.
I'll then first one. I'll buy the second.
Your office?
Yes. All right. Everything.
Thank you, boss. Okay.
Where? Oh.
Days.
Well,
I have my video. Yeah, everything is Please state your name.
Mr. Williams?
Mr. Williams, this is the time for your initial appearance. You're here this morning on new felony charges of aggravated assault. And then you also have misdemeanor charges out of Tucson City Court that were in warrant status for reckless burning and criminal trespass. You have the right to remain silent on all of these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. And I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you in the new felony charges, and the City of Tucson Public Defender to represent you in the Tucson City Court charges. We're going to talk about your conditions of release today, sir. And to prepare for that, I have reviewed the interim complaint, which describes the circumstances surrounding the arrest on the new felony charges. And I have also reviewed the recommendations, assessments, and information provided by pretrial services. That lets me know how they've assessed you, any information you were able to give them about your ties to the community, and whether you have any felony criminal history. I've also reviewed the state's recommendation, and the state is recommending that I hold you on $100,000, and if you are able to post that bond, that you be released to pretrial services. Would the state like to be heard any further?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Williams, without provocation, savagely beat a 13-year-old girl they didn't know. This is absolutely abhorrent. And this person has demonstrated an absolute inability to abide by the rules of common society. He is a threat to everybody. He'd feed a little girl, Your Honor, $100,000.
Thank you. And defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm not getting from the interim complaint that he beat anybody. The interim complaint says that the victim sustained scratches on her knees and a bump on the head. I am not defending the alleged conduct here. I understand that the victim is a minor. I understand that Mr. Williams is accused of having done something horrible. Mr. Williams is also 24 years old. He's homeless. And I think something that I rarely see in interim complaints, I see here, which is that the arresting officers recognized, at least from the reports of the victim, that Mr. Williams seemed to be having a mental health crisis when this was all happening. The interim complaint says that when he first approached the bus stop, he was talking to himself, and the victim says that he wasn't making any sense. He has no felony criminal history, so I'm not sure where the state is getting that he is a danger to everybody who can't abide by the rules of conduct of society. Somehow, he's made it 24 years abiding by the rules for the most part, other than the city court cases we're also here to deal with. So I think aside from the state's extremely dramatic painting of this situation, I would ask the court to consider a significantly lower bond to give him the opportunity at release should somebody who's, again, living on the street somehow be able to come up with enough community or family support to bond out. So, Your Honor, for those reasons, if the court's inclined to hold Mr. Williams, we would ask for a significantly lower bond, somewhere in the range of $10,000. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to order that you be held on a bond of $25,000, sir. That will be cash or secured. If you are able to post bond and be released, then your additional conditions will be monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, no alcohol or illegal drugs, and no firearms or weapons. Your next court date is going to be May 9th at 1:30. You're also ordered not to have any contact with the victim. Don't go to her residence, and or school. Do not return to the incident location. If you were to be released and then failed to appear for court, a warrant could issue for your arrest, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You're excused for today.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, wait. I forgot to address your city court charges, so you're not excused yet. So on the city court charges, I'm just going to order a bond of $150 cash or secured, possess or consume no alcohol, no contact with the victims of the reckless burning or criminal trespass, don't return to those incident locations. And as I said, the City of Tucson Public Defender is appointed. If you remain in custody, your court date for this case will be May 9th. For a video review at 1:45, the jail will be able to make you available for both hearings. If you're released, then you don't need to come to court for the Tucson City cases on May 9th. You'll be at Superior Court or Justice Court on May 9th. Instead, you'll go to Tucson City Court on June 3rd, and all of this will be on the paperwork you receive. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest, okay?
All right, okay.
Now you're excused. I'm giving you.
Two court dates. They're going to be on the same day, but call my office. This isn't a real one. Okay. All right. Okay.
Morning, please state your name.
Russell Venezio.
Mr. Venezio, this is the time for your initial appearance on charges of aggravated assault. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender to represent you.
Okay.
We're going to discuss your conditions of release today. And to prepare for that, I have reviewed the interim complaint, which describes the circumstances surrounding your arrest. I've also reviewed information from pretrial services that tells me a little bit of information about you, including whether you were able to provide information about your connections to the community and whether you have any felony criminal history, and if so, what that looks like. It also provides their assessments and recommendations, and I have reviewed the state's recommendation. The state is recommending that you be held on a bond of $7,500. And let me see, it looks like there's also a hold on you from the Department of Corrections, which I assume is a parole violation hold. So regardless of what I ordered today, you would not be released to the community. If you were released from Pima County Jail, it would be to that Department of Corrections hold.
Right.
Would the state like to be heard any further on its recommendation?
No, Your Honor.
And the defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. We agree a bond should be imposed in this case. The interim complaint does read a little bit odd. It says that Mr. Vinicio was calling 911 on himself, that the firearm that was being reported was actually a BB gun. And the interim complaint also has a very odd chronology that says that Mr. Vinicio is alleged to have shot at the feet of officers as they're leaving the scene, but then when officers turn around, they see that he pulls the gun out of his pocket, and I'm not sure how both of those things can be true. All of that aside, I think that it's also pretty clear that Mr. Vinicio was having some sort of episode calling 911 on himself, and clearly the officers on scene didn't think that he was that dangerous because they tried to leave. So for those reasons, we would ask for a significantly lower bond, somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I am going to order a bond of $5,000 cash or secured. If you are able to post bond, you'll be released to the custody of pretrial services. You'll be directed to submit to monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. No alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons. If you do have any type of firearm, you must surrender it to local law enforcement. Your next court date will be May 9th at 1:30 p.m. for a preliminary hearing. It's possible that date will change, so it's important to stay in touch with your attorney. If you fail to appear for a court date, a warrant can issue.
No, I do.
Thank you. You're excused.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, go. Thank you.
Yo soy por favor. You don't need the Spanish interpreter. So no reason. Okay. Your Honor, I see that Ms. Fernandez is on the line. I think that Mr. Quijada might appreciate the interpreter's assistance.
Yes, this is Jorge Quijada. All right.
Yes, usted Jorge Quijada.
Sí.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Quijada, you are here today on your initial appearance on charges of criminal damage. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Bueno, buenos días, señor Quijada, le dice la juez. Usted está aquí esta mañana en su comparecencia inicial porque usted tiene una acusación de daños a la propiedad. Usted tiene el derecho de permanecer callado. Todo lo que diga puede y será utilizado en su contra.
You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender to represent you.
Usted tiene el derecho a ser representado por un abogado y sí le voy a asignar al defensor público del condado de Pima para que lo represente en este caso.
We're going to talk about your conditions of release today, and to prepare for that, I did review the interim complaint, which contains details surrounding your arrest.
Y ahora vamos a hablar de las condiciones de liberación. Y para prepararme para esta audiencia, yo revisé la denuncia provisional que detalla y me dice las circunstancias del arresto.
I've also reviewed information provided by pretrial services, which includes things that you told them or your references were able to verify. It includes whether you have any felony criminal history, and if so, what that looks like, and what their assessments and recommendations are.
Y también para prepararme de la audiencia de hoy, también revisé el informe que me preparó los servicios previos al juicio, que contiene información y también de lo que usted le dijo a ellos con respecto a toda esa información. Y también me avisan si usted tiene antecedentes penales o también se le ha acusado anteriormente por delitos graves. Y también me dan las recomendaciones.
Finally, I've reviewed the state's recommendation, which is that you be held on a bond of $10,000 and if released to the custody of pretrial services.
Y finalmente ya revisé la recomendación del fiscal. El fiscal está recomendando que a usted se le fije una fianza de $10,000. Y si usted deposita esa fianza y sale libre, que quede bajo la supervisión y custodia de los servicios previos al juicio.
Would the state like to be heard further?
Only to note that the interim complaint alleges that this defendant was so intoxicated, he could barely stand on his own 2 feet and was barely able to stay awake, yet thought it appropriate to operate an automobile and then slammed into a fence. It's a miracle we're not looking at somebody dead here.
Okay. Dice el fiscal, ¿usted quisiera ser escuchado adicionalmente? Y dice el fiscal que sí. Su señoría, la denuncia provisional dice que el señor estaba tan embriagado que apenas si se podía parar en sus 2 pies. Y apenas se podía mantener despierto, que también estaba aspirando el humo del carro y se estrelló contra una esterco y de milagro no mató a alguien o alguien resultó muerto.
And the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't see any facts in the interim complaint that would lead me to believe that literally anybody was around when this happened. I'm not sure where Mr. Poston is getting that we're lucky nobody died. I would also add that Mr. Quijada's mother, Annabelle, was in great contact with pretrial services. She said that he could stay with her. She said that he could use her as transportation to and from court. I would also like the court to note that Mr. Quijada has, at least according to pretrial, no failures to appear. And although he was recently homeless, I believe that housing with his mother is going to make sure that he can make it to court and fulfill those obligations. So for those reasons, Your Honor, we're asking for release to pretrial services. I also anticipate if the state decides to go forward with the DUI charge, that this case is going to be dismissed and then refiled later, meaning if he were held, those days would be for naught if they're less than 10 days because of shiftlet. So I would ask the court consider release to pretrial services. Thank you.
Bueno, dice la juez que si quisiera que el abogado defensor decir algo y dice que sí. El abogado defensor dice que él no ve hechos en la denuncia provisional que demuestren que alguna persona pudo haber salido lastimada y que no entiende por qué el fiscal Poston está diciendo que literalmente alguien podía haber resultado muerto. Además de esto, el señor Quijada tiene a su mamá, Anabel, quien habló con los servicios previos al juicio y les dijo que el señor Quijada puede vivir con ella. También la señora Anabel está dispuesta a proporcionar el transporte para que el señor Quijada pueda ir a sus audiencias y así no falte a sus audiencias con el juez. Por un periodo de tiempo corto el señor estuvo sin hogar, pero ahora con la ayuda de su mamá, pues él puede vivir ahí y reunir las obligaciones o cumplir con las obligaciones que le ordena el juez. Entonces, por esas razones estamos solicitando que el señor quede libre bajo la supervisión de los servicios previos al juicio. Y si el fiscal está dispuesto a proceder con una acusación de DUI, pues este caso va a ser desestimado y lo pueden volver a presentar una vez más. Por esas razones estamos solicitando que el señor quede libre bajo la supervisión de los servicios previos al juicio.
have 110. Great. Oh. I'm going to order that you're held on a bond of $1,500, cash or secured. If you are released, you'll be released to pretrial services. You must submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. No alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons.
Bueno, dice la juez, le voy a ordenar que usted se le fije fianza de $1,500 en efectivo o en garantía. Y si usted deposita la fianza, va a quedar bajo la supervisión de los servicios previos al juicio. Pero usted, señor, como condición de liberación, debe de seguir cualquier monitoreo o tratamiento que le indiquen los servicios previos al juicio y no debe de consumir bebidas alcohólicas, no debe de consumir sustancias ilícitas, ni tampoco poseer ningún arma de fuego.
And if you are able to post bond and be released, I am also ordering that you do not drive.
Y si usted deposita la fianza y sale libre, también voy a ordenar que no debe de conducir.
And do not have any contact with the alleged victim. Do not go to their residence or workplace.
Usted no debe de tener contacto con la presunta víctima, ni tampoco ir al lugar donde vive la víctima, ni a donde trabaja la víctima.
Your next court date is going to be May 9th at 1:30 for a preliminary hearing.
Su próxima audiencia va a ser el 9 de mayo a la 1:30 de la tarde para una audiencia preliminar.
If you were to be released and then failed to appear for that court date, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Si usted sale libre, señor, y no se presenta a su próxima audiencia, se puede emitir una orden de arresto para que lo vuelvan a detener. ¿Le queda claro?
Sí.
Yes.
Thank you. You're excused for today.
Gracias. Se puede retirar por el día de hoy. And Your Honor, may the interpreter be excused?
Yes, I don't see anyone else who needs the Spanish interpreter. Does the jail agree?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Interpreters excused.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Have a good day. Thank you.
Ready to go around? Let's see there. Two sort of secret. You have a wall worried about? Yeah. That's what the fuck. Why is that?
Please state your name.
Larry Avila.
Mr. Avila, this is the time for your initial appearance. You are here this morning on charges of aggravated assault and endangerment. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender to represent you. You also have counsel seated next to you for the purposes of today's hearing. We're going to talk about your conditions of release, and I have reviewed the interim complaint, which describes the circumstances surrounding your arrest. And I have also reviewed information provided by pretrial services, which lets me know their assessments and recommendations, as well as any information you were able to provide about your connections to the community and references, as well as whether you have any relevant criminal history. The state is recommending that you be held on a bond of $25,000 and if released, released to the custody of pretrial services. Would the state like to be heard further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Avila is 23 years old, and the alleged victim in this case says that he is not only welcome to return home, but that she wishes to have contact with him. I'd also like to note for the court's attention that there were no injuries sustained according to the victim. He has a verified address. He's employed full-time. I do recognize the outstanding misdemeanor charges out of Safford are likely concerning to the court. So if the court is inclined to impose a bond, we would ask for something in the $5,000 to $10,000 range to afford Mr. Avila a reasonable opportunity at release, should he be able to post something. Thank you.
Thank you. I've also reviewed a Form 4C. I forgot to mention that earlier. All right, so I am going to order the bond of $5,000, capped and secured. If you are able to post that bond, you'll be released to the custody of pretrial services. You'll be required to submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. You may not possess or consume alcohol or illegal drugs. You may not commit any acts of domestic violence, no firearms or weapons. I know the victim has said that she's willing to have contact with you, but I'm not willing to allow that at this point in time. Another judge may change that order in the future. So I'm ordering that you may not have contact with her. Even if she reaches out to you, you are not allowed to have that contact. Do not go to her residence or workplace. You may return one time with a law enforcement officer to pick up your belongings. You'll take my order to the closest police station, and they will escort you to the home to pick up your belongings. Your next court date is going to be May 9th at 1:30. That's for a preliminary hearing. That could change, so it's important to stay in touch with your attorney. If you are released and then fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You're excused. Please state your name.
Martin Balderrama.
Mr. Balderrama, this is the time for your initial appearance. You're here this morning on charges of possession of dangerous drugs and possession of drug paraphernalia. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. I have reviewed information from the state as well as information from pretrial services. And I am inclined to custody of pretrial services. Does anyone need to be heard further?
No, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Balderrama, you may be eligible for a pre-indictment diversion program that's referred to as STEPS. If you were accepted into that program and successfully completed it, it's possible that the state would not proceed with these felony drug charges. Are you interested in that program?
Yes.
Okay, then I am going to set your case for a hearing on May 6th. That's next week. To determine if you are eligible for that program. You should be able to talk to an attorney at that hearing and also speak with service providers and pretrial services. I believe you only get one shot at being evaluated for that program, so it is very important that you appear for that hearing. And then we also need to set your next court date after that, which is a preliminary hearing. Usually that has to be set within 20 days. But I'm asking if you would waive that to 45 days to allow time for you to be assessed and enter the pre-indictment diversion program if you are eligible. Do you agree?
Yes.
All right. So your preliminary hearing date will be June 13th at 1:30. If you are accepted into the diversion program, there's a good chance that hearing will not go forward. You'll want to be in good touch with your attorney because if there is a hearing and you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. You're excused.
To get released, your first needs to be pretrial. Well, it needs to be. And then you got to show up to this hearing on May 6th. Right?
Please state your name.
Juan Rafael Carrion.
Mr. Carrion, this is the time for your initial appearance. You're here this morning on charges of possession of a firearm by a prohibited possessor, possession of a narcotic drug, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for today's hearing. We're going to talk about your conditions of release, and to prepare for that, I have reviewed the interim complaint, which describes the circumstances surrounding your arrest. And then I have reviewed information from pretrial services, which lets me know whether you have any felony criminal history, and if so, what that looks like. It also lets me know whether you were able to provide information and references regarding your connections to the community and what their assessments and recommendations are. I've also reviewed the state's recommendation. The state is recommending that you be held without bond. They are indicating that you committed or that you were charged with this offense while you were on pretrial release for another offense, I believe. And let me see. It looks like, yep, it looks like there's a charge from February 15th, 2025. Of possession of narcotic drugs and possession of drug paraphernalia for which you were released to pretrial services. When they make that request, I am required to hold you without a bond and set a hearing pretty quickly for the state to provide evidence that they can meet the requirements to continue holding you without bond. So that hearing is going to be next week. It's going to be on May 5th at 2:30. And that's where the court will determine whether to continue holding you without bond or to set release conditions for you. And then you will have a preliminary hearing set on May 9th at 1:30. Do you understand? All right, thank you. You're excused.
Okay. Professor Díaz.
Please state your name.
Victor Cornelius.
Mr. Cornelius, this is the time for your initial appearance. You are here this morning on a couple of new felony charges. They are charges of aggravated assault, and then you have a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct, which is a domestic violence offense. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. This morning, we're going to talk about your conditions of release. You do have counsel seated next to you for the purposes of this morning's hearing. And to prepare for that, I have reviewed the circumstances described in the interim complaint. And I have also reviewed information provided by pretrial services. That lets me know whether or not you have any relevant criminal history. It also lets me know whether you were able to provide information regarding your connections to the community and references, as well as the assessments and recommendations completed by pretrial services. The state is recommending that you be held on a bond of $5,000 and if released to the custody of pretrial services. Would the state like to be heard any further?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. And defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're asking for release to pretrial services in this case for a number of reasons. First, pretrial services is reporting that his new criminal activity score is a 2, that he's not likely to commit any new offenses if he's released. The interim complaint is also a little bit odd on this one. It seems like the worst version of events is that Victor was drunk and got in a fight with his brother, but then when police arrived, his brother Eric was on top of Victor. I can't tell if Victor had any idea police were even there, or if maybe he thought the people he was flailing his legs at was just his brother who was on top of him. So I don't really see in the interim complaint any indication that Victor saw that there were police officers there and that he intended to assault them. I would also like to add that Victor's mother, Laura, confirmed that he's employed full-time and has agreed to take third-party custody of him to ensure that he has housing and a way to get to and from court. Because of his one failure to appear ever, according to pretrial services, I'm hopeful the court will consider pretrial services released in this case. Thank you.
Great, Mr. Cornelius, I am going to give you a chance to be released to pretrial services. You will be required to submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. You may not possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You may not commit any acts of domestic violence. You may not possess any firearms or weapons. I'm going to order that you may not have any contact with your brother, Eric Cornelius. Were you living in the same place as your brother?
I was not.
Okay. So then don't go to his residence or workplace. And your next court date is going to be May 19th at 1:30 p.m. for a preliminary hearing. It's possible that that court date will not go forward, so you'll want to stay in touch with your attorney. If you do miss any court dates, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
I do.
Thank you. You're excused.
When you release your first call, it's pretrial services. See what they need from me. Your second call is my office, okay? And then release your release court date. Perfect. Thank you, so yes, sir. Is that it?
No, I did. All right. Please state your name.
Alana Devino.
Ms. Dipinette, this is the time for your initial appearance. You're here in a couple of different matters. We have new felony charges, including possession of a narcotic drug for sale, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possession of a firearm during a narcotic offense. And then you also have some cases out of Tucson City Court for possession of drug paraphernalia, which were in warrant status for failing to appear. Those are from 2023 and 2024. You have the right to remain silent on all of these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney in the new felony matter, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release in all these matters this morning, and to prepare for that, I have reviewed the interim complaint, which describes the circumstances surrounding your arrest. I have reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held without bond. And I have reviewed pretrial services, which shows that you were arrested for a different felony offense and were on pretrial release for that offense as of July 2024 out of Maricopa County, that you failed to appear and a warrant was issued for your arrest. So the state is asking that you be held without bond. Under Arizona law, when you are accused of a new felony while on release for a prior felony, you are not eligible for bail. So what I'm supposed to do is set a hearing next week to determine if the state can show the required evidence for the court to continue holding you without bond. So that hearing would be set for May 5th at 2:30. And at that time, the court would determine whether they were going to continue holding you in the new felony charges or if they were going to issue conditions of release. Do you understand?
I understand.
And then on the city court charges, I'll order that you are held on a bond of $50, cash or secured. And your next court date will be May 9th at 1:45 for a video review if you remain in custody. If you are released before then your next court date will be June 2nd at 2:30 for a pretrial conference. And if you are released in those matters, the additional orders are that you do not possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and I will appoint the City of Tucson Public Defender to represent you in your Tucson City Court cases. If you were to be released and then fail to appear for court, a warrant could issue for your arrest. You understand?
Understand.
All right, you're excused for today.
Such a misfortune, okay? That's where they're gonna decide if you bring you without bond or whether you're gonna get up on it. Give it certain reviews, answer your questions. With. Was it done?
Please state your name.
Dustin DeWitt.
Mr. DeWitt, you are here this morning on new felony charges of domestic violence, aggravated harassment. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release this morning, and I have reviewed the interim complaint. I've also reviewed the state's recommendation that you be held on a bond of $25,000 and released to pretrial services if you are able to post that bond. I've also reviewed information provided by pretrial services about you, which lets me know whether you have any felony criminal history. It also lets me know whether you were able to provide information about your connections to the community and any references.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
it also tells me it tells me what their assessments are and what their recommendations are.
Sure.
So would the state like to be heard any further on its recommendation?
No, Your Honor.
I've also reviewed Form 4C as well. And defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly, pretrial services is reporting no failure to appears, which is odd. I'm not sure how his score got as high as it is when they're not identifying failure to appears. I'd also just like the court to note that the one felony prior that we have here involved release to pretrial. Mr. DeWitt did not miss court. He was placed on probation and he completed probation successfully. And that was all back in, the conduct was in 2016. I understand that the allegations in the interim complaint are concerning. We would defer to the court on that bond amount.
Yeah.
If I could say one thing, I just been having a hard time, and I just had nowhere to sleep. Oh, yeah, okay.
It's my understanding that the victim is also on the line. So I did want to give them a chance to speak if they would like to say something before I determine the conditions of release. You may need to hit *6 to unmute yourself, and you can go ahead. Samantha, I can't hear you if you are speaking, so if you want to try again to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I guess I did *6, it muted me, and then I had to unmute it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
As far as I understand, it's myself and his sister on this phone call that are both going to speak, I believe. For myself, it's that we would, at the previous hearings, asked that, or said that I wasn't sure if he should be held or not. At this point, I'm asking that he should be held because it's just becoming unsafe. And during my neighborhoods, during my kids, and of course myself. And he doesn't seem safe for his own self in his right mind right now.
Thank you very much for appearing and making your statements.
And I apologize. I just wanted to include that this is several times that he's violated the order of protection. This will be his third arrest, but then there's been several reports as well.
Thank you. And counsel, did your client still want to speak, or has he determined that that's not in his best interests?
One moment ago. Nothing further from us, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, so I am going to order that you're held on a bond of $15,000. That'll be cash or secured. If you are released, you'll be released to the custody of pretrial services. You'll be required to submit to monitoring and treatment as required by pretrial services. Let's see. And you are not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You may not commit any acts of domestic violence. That includes violating an order of protection. You may not possess any firearms or weapons. If you do have any firearms, you must surrender them to local law enforcement. You may not have any contact with the alleged victim. You may not go to the incident location. And I'm going to order that you may not go within 1,000 feet of her residence.
Yes.
Your next court date is going to be May 9th. That is at 1:30 p.m. for a preliminary hearing. It's possible that that hearing may not go forward. So if you are released, you will want to stay in touch with your attorney, because if you do fail to appear for a court hearing, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You're excused.
When I get released, when I get released, $8,000. My office can answer the questions. Yeah. Right at that day. If they'll answer those questions, so it's make the whole process again. And we're going all right now. So right now, no, nobody gets your cases in this. Again, office, results. I won't get released. No. Yeah.
Please state your name.
Michael Duran.
Mr. Duran, this is the time for your initial appearance. You're here this morning on charges of weapons misconduct. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. And I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release this morning. And I have reviewed the interim complaint, which describes the circumstances surrounding your arrest. And then I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. Which I am trying to pull back up right now. And that lets me know whether you have any prior felony convictions. It also lets me know whether you were able to provide information and references about your ties to the community and what their assessments and recommendations are regarding you. Let's see. It looks like there's also a superior court hold. So regardless of what I ordered today, in this case, you would not be released until that was cleared up. We're going, would the state like to be heard any further about its recommendation?
No, Judge.
Thank you. And defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would just like to note a couple of things for the court. First, it looks like Mr. Duran's only history is from conduct that was over 2 decades ago, in 2003. I'd also like the court to know that Mr. Duran's mother, Minerva, agreed to transport Mr. Duran to and from future court dates and said that she could use his house both as housing and for mailing purposes. I understand the court's going to hold him on that superior warrant as it is. Again, I think that this is a case, according to the interim, that started because of expired registration. And it seems for the most part, Mr. Duran has kept himself out of trouble for a while. I'd ask the court to consider all of that and impose a bond so he's earning time credit, at least while he's being held. We would ask for nothing more than $1,000. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to order a bond of $1,500, sir. That'll be cash or secured. If you are able to post that bond, you'll be released to pretrial services. You must submit to monitoring your treatment as directed by pretrial services. No alcohol or illegal drugs, no firearms or weapons. Sir, if there are any firearms in your possession, you must surrender them to local law enforcement. Your next court date is going to be May 9th at 1:30 for a preliminary hearing. If you are released and then fail to appear for that hearing, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor, but I guess I have one more question. When do I have court for the child's court or for the superior court?
I don't have access to that information at this courthouse because I'm at Justice Court right now.
I see.
All right, you're excused for today.
My office will be able to tell you. Okay. So the whole today is like a sign. So we'll be tomorrow. They'll tell them, hey, child's support thing to get figured out.
Can somebody simply in there say just something at all?
Well, they're not going to pay. I hope they'll be able to talk to your options. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm saying if somebody from my family is able to get paid, it's only
Don't say anything. So then we know what listening.
okay.
Right. So Jay, sorry, they'll be able to, it's 2 sets, 2 completely separate.
So, but the same thing is paying for identity.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please state your name.
Cameron Allen 5.
Mr. Fye, this is the time for your initial appearance on charges of possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of a dangerous drug, and possession of a narcotic drug. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and I am appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. We're going to talk about your conditions of release today. And having reviewed the interim complaint, the state's recommendation, and information from pretrial services, I am inclined to order that you be released to pretrial services this morning. Would anyone need to be heard further?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
Thank you. And you may be eligible for a pre-indictment diversion program. That program connects you with substance abuse treatment, and if you successfully complete it, it's possible that you it's possible that the state will not go forward on the charges if you successfully complete that program. Are you interested in that program? All right, so I will set your case for a hearing on May 6th at 9 a.m. to determine whether you are eligible for that program. At that hearing, you'll be able to speak with an attorney, you'll be able to speak with pretrial services and service providers, and they will determine if you are eligible to be accepted into that program. I believe you only get one chance at that, so if you were to fail to appear, you would no longer be eligible for that program, so it's very important to appear for that hearing. And then we need to set your preliminary hearing date. Usually that's required to be set within 20 days. However, in order to give time for you to be assessed and hopefully accepted into the STEPS program, I am asking whether you would agree to waive that to 45 days.
Yeah.
All right, so we will set your preliminary hearing date on June 13th. If you are accepted into the STEPS program, there's a good chance that hearing will not go forward. Important to stay in touch with your attorney because if you do fail to appear for any hearings, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You're excused for today.
So you're notice to your first call is pretrial services. Your second is really May 6th at 9 a.m. Okay, if you don't look for this hearing, you got to look at it. Ready to go, thank you. Yes, sir. Mr. Johnson, this way, this way. Johnson. Johnson. Charge to please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nope, one will do. Please state your name.
Robert Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, this is the time for your initial appearance on a few different matters this morning. It looks like you have charges out of Pima County Superior Court for which are felony charges from May of 2022 for organized retail theft, shoplifting, and possession of drug paraphernalia. And then there are new misdemeanor charges for possession of drug paraphernalia, shoplifting, and obstruction of justice, refusing to give your name. And then there are also charges out of Pima County Justice Court and Tucson City Court that are older and were in warrant status for criminal trespass and possession of drug paraphernalia. So we're going to discuss your conditions of release on all of these charges today. And I have reviewed information provided by pretrial services. I have reviewed the state's recommendation, which is that you be held on a bond of $3,000 on the felony offenses, which is the amount that was ordered when the warrant issued. Would the state like to be heard any further?
No, Your Honor.
And defense?
Nothing further on the felony matter, Your Honor. We would just request that a nominal bond be set on the misdemeanor matters as well.
So I will order for the felonies that you are held on a bond of $3,000, cash or secured. If you are able to post that bond, you'll be released to pretrial services in order to submit to any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. You may not possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You may not possess any firearms or weapons. No contact with the alleged victim. Do not go to the incident location. Your next court date will be May 6th at 1:30 for an arraignment. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. And then on the misdemeanor out of Pima County Justice Court for trespass, your next court date will be tomorrow at 1 p.m. I'll just order $50 bond, cash or secured. No contact with the alleged victim. Do not return to the incident location. And do not possess or consume alcohol or illegal drugs. And on the Tucson City Court matters, I will order a bond of $150, cash or secured. And if you remain in custody, your next court date will be May 9th at 1:45 for a video review in those cases. If you are able to post bond and be released, then your next court date will be May 28th at 9 a.m. And the additional orders, if you are released, are to possess or consume no alcohol or illegal substances and to have no contact with the victims of the shoplifting. Do not return to the incident location. I will appoint the City of Tucson Public Defender to represent you. And then on the Pima County Justice Court misdemeanor, I will appoint Christian Salter to represent you. Do you understand the consequences of failing to appear for court? Thank you. You're excused.
So you're going to be 0 against 20. Ready to go.